mother went to school, graduated
Up to you when you want to start.
89.
Call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Dalton Township Park and Recreation Advisory Committee. We shall now have the invocation. Mark, will you be able to do that for us?
Yes,
All right, thank you.
Heavenly Father, here. Heavenly Father, we want to recognize you in our midst. You are the greatest, the most powerful, the most well-respected. You are our Savior. We ask that you bless this committee as well as everyone in our township. But more importantly, allow us an opportunity to make good decisions on behalf of the citizens of this township. We accept you in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. You're acting secretary, so.
Actually, I am.
Oh, you are. All right.
Michael Bennett is here.
Yep.
Marvin Dash,
Present.
right here. Randall Lemoine
Yep.
and Michael Somerville.
Sir.
We also have Justin Grinnell and Jeff Martin here.
We have now the approval of the agenda. Under discussion items, they're somewhere probably after Beagle Skate Park. I want to do just a simple update on the bylaws for our board here. If anybody have any objection to adding that to the bylaws? Or to the, I'm sorry, to the agenda? Okay, we will be adding that to the agenda.
Where do we want that?
Right after Beagle Field, right?
And then I would just suggest taking a motion and support and vote on that.
Yep.
Okay. You,
I move that the agenda that is presented along with the additional discussion points to the agenda be accepted.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passed. Need approval of the past meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the last meeting minutes.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Okay. Parks report.
Well, good evening. Things have been pretty busy, but good. At Beagle Field, we have installed new tennis nets, soccer nets, as well as put up a new basketball backboard and goal. We also had to edge the sidewalks in preparation for a birthday party at the pavilion that was rented out for a couple weeks ago. The brush that we had piled up at the east side of the property from that storm damage, that's all finally cleaned up. I made a little berm and I plan on adding some dirt to it, make it look better than what it is, but surprisingly that went pretty well. We weren't quite sure how that's gonna pan out. Hadley Park, we've been keeping up with it and maintained, as well as Duff. Not much more to speak of on them two. Catalpa is being maintained. We had a pretty big branch that had just fallen a couple weeks ago, hauled out a dump trailer full of wood. Just this morning, I had installed a park at Catalpa, so now people actually know the name of the park. Right there as you turn the corner, so pretty excited about that. At the horse park, after the last discussion of this meeting, we had went and installed 2 mountain blocks, 2 hitching posts, and 2 picnic tables. The equestrians that use it seem to be happy with it, so that's a win. Bike path, we had went fixed up some of the broken fencing along the bike path. There is talk about putting in a statue in honor of Tim Landrup, who was a huge advocate for bicycling in our area and played a huge part in forming the Berry Junction Trail. Really big advocate. So they are wanting to make a statue in his honor. Just really had to touch base on that.
Who is they?
The Skating Bicycle Coalition and that's not the proper one. What one?
Berry Junction Trail Friends Group.
Yes. So thank you. Twin Lake Cemetery fixed a light to the flagpole and got the monument updated, and we're about to resurface the roads. And Oakland Cemetery is currently being maintained. That's
How soon will those roads be resurfaced?
It's been an ongoing thing about, we keep on hearing about a month out. Basically, what they are doing is they're looking for the right window in their scheduling to do it. So last I heard it was about a month out, it was about 3 weeks out. I haven't heard anything more, so
It'll be before snow flies.
yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Related to this park here, in your packet, you'll have Dalton Township Parks field tour dated July 22nd, 2024. And Justin and I, Justin took me for a tour all over the park so I could see what the conditions are. And these are my notes of what I observed when I went to those. But keep you up to date on what the issues are in each of the parks and help you become more familiar. Really, the tour was very helpful for me to know what I'm dealing with. Without seeing it myself, I just,
Yep. And the offer is open to everyone if you want me to show you around, show you everything that we're discussing here. By all means, please.
I think the only limitation is that you can only go 2 at a time for this meeting's at.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just contact Justin
Yep.
and he'll take you on a tour. So is there any action that needs to be done with this report? Do we need to?
I wouldn't do any approval with them.
Okay,
Just a report. It's just a report.
okay. Take a moment here, open the meeting for public comment. There's no public here. Close the public comment. So. Eagle Playground is on the agenda. Let you take the lead on this, Justin. Is there in the packet, is there something we need to be looking at?
So I'm going to start with this paper that's got the rundown with the different, says unit price we pay on there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just for the game time grant that we had found. We were reached out to from a sales rep from Game Time and saying that depending on the price, which also worth mentioning that if you look at the one that says Christie on the top that I put in, that's a good reference for it. But for the match to be 100%, so let's say that if it's $80,000, they pay 40, we pay 40, and that's for the equipment itself. So that's kind of what we're looking at with this paper here. I went and got some quotes made up with the Antelope Canyon, and we would pay $18,997.78 for that. Yep. So I had just kind of made a different comparison for all the different ones that we have here. I will take all of them and kind of put them in front of myself and I'm the same. I didn't really think how to make this speech, so bear with me here. But it's kind of up to whatever one you guys think makes the most sense. The bone, I had went around, found out that Game Time has put in a lot of different playgrounds in our area. They're based out of Sinclair, who's sales rep for Game Time, is based out of Holland. So it's a local company. And they've done quite a few projects in this area. So I had drove around Pure Marquette Beach. I can't remember the name of the park, but they just have a new playground put in that looks kind of similar to the Pacific Trajectory. A little different than that one. That one has more of a wheelchair ramp, so it'd be a little bit more expensive, but same ballpark kind of a unit they have at Pure Marquette. The Bowman one they have at Shelton Park over in between Laketon and Apple Avenue. I don't have the address on me currently, but I could get the address for you if you want to check out. I went and checked that one out to Bowman, and I was pretty impressed with that unit. Unfortunately, out of all the quotes I had gotten, that's also the most costly one. So let the information do what you will. Out of the rest of the quotes, the PlayLab Brewster is the lowest dollar amount that we will meet the 100% quote or 100% grant. Anything below that one, they will only match, was it 80%? So that's kind of the math that's in here. After that, you have the Hill Bay Creek, which we would pay 26 and some change. And the Antelope Canyon, that we would pay, that's the one I started with, $18,997. But with all that math being said, the Bowman, it'd be 46,000 some change. The PlayLab Brewster, 37,000, well over 37.5. And the Pacific Trajectory, pardon my stumbling there.
Are you saying that the second or the last three are 100% match?
Yes. Thanks for making that simpler for me.
The threshold on that is 60,000?
To reach that grant, 75,000.
75,000 is the threshold to get the 100%.
Yep.
And then, the next threshold is, 80% is what?
25,000 to 75,000. And we wouldn't have to pay the entire 75,000. It would basically be anything above 75,000, we pay half of. That does not include shipping or installation though. So
Did we install it or did they install?
they install it, and we can budget any of these in for next year's budget for the installation. We just have to have it shipped this year.
Any ballpark in installation or did they?
30% of the purchase price.
And then there's some other groundwork involved, and approximately for the groundwork at Beagle Field, the representative said it'd be somewhere in the 10 grand.
And I think that'll be, no matter what place that we get, we're gonna have to redo the framework of it. That's the wrong wording.
So they just do the install, they don't do the prep work.
They can do the prep work.
We can, but we have to pay, these prices that we're dealing with, we have to then add another 10 grand extra price for the prep work.
It's an expenditure.
Yeah, but that can all be in next year's budget, as long as this grant is. Let me see if I can find the date. This year's order deadline is October 25th to get this grant. So realistically, if we were to go with the game time one to get the most bang for your buck with the help of that grant, we basically have to approve it at this meeting and then go on to the board of trustees and have them approve it to meet the deadline for the grant.
How are we doing with regard to our budget to work with?
With the budget, we have, did you put that in the package, Jeff?
Yeah. So on the budget, what we had slated for Parks Construction this year was 10 grand.
Is that it?
We adjusted a tractor that we had potentially planned on purchasing for 26 grand and removed that and put that 26 grand into Parks Construction as well, which brought the total for that line item up to 36 grand. And we spent a few $1,000s. We still have $32,000 as of this year under that budget item. So and I know that Justin was talking with the treasurer and clerk, not they retain the ability to change their minds and go whichever way they want, as boards and votes do. But if this committee were to approve something that was over that amount, because a lot of them are, over half of them, then the board would also have to approve that and make a budget adjustment at the time. Now, the board may be open to that, the board may not. It's hard to say. We recently approved purchase for backup generators for these two buildings, the Township Hall and the maintenance building. It ended up being a split vote. And so two of the members had voted against it. The rest of the members voted for it. It ended up going through. So that was $50,000. But as it stands now, we have $32,000 that is definitely under this line item. And then I know at least those discussions they had with the company is that the clerk and treasurer were thinking that would probably go over that to purchase this and then put the rest of this, the install and the prep work onto next year. So, but it probably will be a debatable thing.
But we'd still end up having to pay the full, or we pay price this year.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. And then we just have to store the place that, which is then basically a box that's made for the weather because they learned that you can't ship them in cardboard boxes. We had discussed with the sales rep about that. All the hardware will be in 5-gallon containers, so everything will be good there. And it can be stored outside, so you don't have to store it inside the building.
Do you know the life expectancy of these things? Like how long they're supposed to last by chance? Cause I was looking at all like, I see like Antelope Canyon, it's 5 and 12 years old, 30 to 35 to 40 kids, which, that seems like a pretty good size that like, a lot of kids at one time, that's 19 grand. If it lasts 10 years, that's great. If it's 15, even better. Or if it's 5, then that's, I don't know.
Right. That's a good question. I don't have the answer to.
No,
I know that the current one that is at Beaglefield was a piece of playground that was at McMillan Elementary.
Got it.
Back when I was in school,
Yeah.
I actually played on that
I
one.
think I did too. Okay.
So that gives you an idea.
Yeah, I understand.
Could possibly
Okay.
last.
Okay.
Grant that one's in rough shape.
Sure.
But
So back to the budget items, that if we end up purchasing it, but we know that we're planning on using next year's budget, are we putting the township in a bind where they feel obliged to budget that in there? What if they change their mind and don't, then we've got playground equipment, but we don't have it prepped, we don't have it installed.
Correct, that is possible. So if you're assuming, if we're to approve purchasing it, we're assuming that it would be reasonable to budget to finish out the program for next year, right? So there's different ways that this could fall out. If the purchase of this equipment is approved here, the board could approve it as well. And then you would assume, and there's gonna be some continuity in the board and some change in this election, right? So by the time we make it to the next budget season. But you would assume that if the board members are approving it now, they understand that they're gonna be approving these other expenses for the preparatory work, the install next year in the budget as well. Could they change their mind? Yes, they could. Would that mean we just have a crate of equipment in the back? Yes, when I came into office, there was a situation like multiple situations like that. So that ended up resolving in various ways. There's also the possibility that it could be approved through this committee and go to the board and then be shot down. We're basically into working on something for next year, setting up for it, working on a budget proposal in December to start the process for next year. So there is a possibility for that by splitting it between the budget years.
Yeah.
So, but the case to be made against that is the grant is available now. Will the grant be available next year? Probably, but that's hard to guarantee. Obviously, I can't guarantee that.
All right, so we have, just so I understand, we have $32,000 right now.
We have budgeted under the line item for parts construction. Now, I also did see that under the line item for equipment repairs, we have 10 grand budgeted and we spent just under 3 grand. And so it would not be a huge deal to move that over in a budget adjustment because you're not technically increasing the budget at that point. You're just sliding the numbers from one line to another.
All right, so that bumps us to 39. Well, that puts us in the ballpark. If we went with one of the two highest ticket items, we would still be about 5,000 short, 5 to 7,000. So how would that play out in the budget? Would we be able to hang that or?
It ends up being, so our underlying finances for the township are good. When I first came in, we had major issues with the sewer fund. We've addressed those. The township was going to go broke in 2026 almost, right? So, but now pretty solid, looking at the future of that. Obviously, as you know, a lot of people know, because I've been bringing it up at board meetings, the audit is messed up, right? For the second year in a row. That's an underlying paperwork administration issue that we're working on sorting out, obviously. But the underlying finances are good. But it would come down to the board deciding to make a budget adjustment on it, which we have budget adjustments coming up at the October meeting. We're gonna have to make one because the board approved for the generators and some other things. And so it comes down to whether the board would like to make that budget adjustment.
All right. Do you feel, I mean, you're closer to it than any of us, I would imagine. Do you feel that there would be that extra $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to work with to make this happen if we decided to go with the higher ticket one?
It's difficult to make those predictions on votes for the general populace or boards, committees, commissions, because I've seen things change so much. I've had people tell me right before we went into a meeting that they're gonna vote a certain way, and then 30 minutes later, they just voted the other way with no explanation. Right, so it's difficult to predict those things, but it doesn't seem unreasonable to me to say, hey, we need another $5,000 to make this project happen for next year. I think the bigger caveat is the large installation fee going into next year, because if we're saying 30% of 90 grand is 18 grand plus 10 grand is 28, or no, it's 3 times.
Well, now is it
27,
30%?
37.
Is it 30% of what we pay or 30% of this unit price?
I believe that's 30% of what the price tag on it is.
Oh, the unit price. Oh, well, then that changes my whole.
Right, so we're looking at install and prep work
Yeah,
next year is 40 grand
It's 27,000.
on some of the higher items.
Yeah, that was the math I was doing over here, like that Antelope Canyon one was a $5,700, install plus the 10 grand, so you double that in itself. I mean, that was 40 grand all in for the cheapest one.
Right, so 40 grand all in for that one, 40 grand just for the
Yeah.
prep work and install.
Right, for
the
the other
expensive one.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge difference.
Now, if we may want to consider, well, that's where we have our first choice and then are anticipating maybe a budget problems if they don't, if the board doesn't like it, give them a second choice and we can move ahead on this, so we don't miss the deadline.
That is reasonable. Otherwise, yeah, it does get stalled until next year. You know, I mean, there's even, I mean, there's the option from my perspective. If you're looking at something that you can put into the amount of money that we have available now and include the install price and maybe even the prep work, depending on how much Justin could do versus how much we have to pay the company to do like the 10 grand prep work. I mean, you might be able to make something like the smaller one happen this year within reasonable budget numbers, with the case being made that we also have more room out there and we can clear another area and add another place at next year if we wanted to go in that direction.
Question, just because I'm always put dumb and have no idea, like just throwing wrenches and things. So like if so obviously the first goal is safety, right? Having a safe place for the kids to play, like that makes sense. Well, like if the goal is to get more people there, right? So this 32 grand, I have no idea what things cost, right? But like, you know, the other township next to us that makes me angry, you know, they have a place that, what if we were to do like 30 grand worth of a splash pad or something completely different where it's like, hey, come see us, we're really cool over here. You know, we have a splash pad, you don't, you know, look at us go. Again, maybe that's $100,000 thing I'm an idiot.
Who are we competing with, Cedar Creek or Fruit
Cedar
Lake?
Creek, Layton, whatever. I know. It's not funny. I mean, I don't know. Like, is there something different for the same budget that makes us different and get more people there and come look at us? Like, the baseball field's the best one we have, and because I play Wally all the time, the Eagles way better. You know, but it's one field, right? So you don't get as many eyes on it. So I don't know. Just when I was looking at this morning, I was thinking, I was like, the third vision out there, which I know completely derailed this meeting. But just, no, that's nothing to derail. I don't know what that's.
So I'll touch base on something that I think goes along with that later. I had the idea of a skate park. Now, this isn't for this year's or even possibly next year. But it's an idea kind of going the same line. There's some, going sidetrack here, but while I was out there working one day, there's a couple older kids on skateboards on the basketball court right after I got the basketball court. Something, okay, if we go redo the basketball court,
Yeah.
you know, would they end up messing up the court itself? You know, it's a good idea, skate park.
Right.
So,
I just know the summers are hot and stuff like that, and you know, people they go to downtown Muskegon for that splash park.
Yeah.
You know, or splash pad, like the technical term, right? So like I don't know. You know, water pumps.
I know that would be a lot to look at because there's the idea of maintenance of them and that type of thing. And so I haven't looked at them a ton. I've just heard from the grapevine of some other issues that people have with them. But it is a viable option, and the general idea of doing something different
Right.
is very reasonable to bring up. You know, so then the question becomes, are you talking about doing something different than a playset or doing the playset and then something different?
Right.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that just occurred to me. So if we do one of the more expensive ones here and end up, we have the budget to order it now, and then we have to budget 40,000 to get it installed and prepared, you know, we basically are spending our money up next year. So any other future is
2
going to
years
be
out.
out another year.
Yeah.
that's a good
I,
point.
I look at this in terms of, here's an opportunity. This is an investment.
Mhm.
And how do we act responsibly fiscally, right?
That's why the one that
Yeah.
sticks out to me the most is the Keystone one that's not on this list. I don't know if we're getting the biggest sale price, but it fits 25 to 32 kids, same age range. It's sale price at 16.2. You know, it has an all-in price. I guess maybe not the 10 grand maintenance, but 27 grand.
Keep in mind that we can have to do site work anyway,
Sure.
and anyone we choose.
Yeah.
So that's a given.
Well, if you go on the next page on the quote, you got the installation cost of 10 grand there.
It had the installation in it, right? So there's 27, but then plus the 10 grand site costs, I guess.
And given the timeline that we have, now, we have to make a decision to meet the deadline of the grant.
Sure.
Well,
So the question would be, whatever we propose is really incumbent upon township board to either accept our recommendation or add to the recommendation with more financial response, at least contribution, or send it back to us. Then we just have to start working for the next year, if they send it back to us.
I believe that we can say, we want to go with the Keystone's our first choice and second choice, the Brewster Playland. I think they would do something like that too and give it to the board and let them take with that information
Okay.
what they want. Am I?
That is reasonable.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. Okay.
okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but these ones that are Willie Goat are not covered under the grant.
Correct. But the price of them is,
Considerably less.
yes,
Yes, so they actually, when you look at compare the prices, the discounted price for playtime, these are in the ballpark or maybe even a little less.
Well, and the only one of the grant ones that I think would come in under our budget as the money we have right now in our pockets, completion from purchase, prep work, and installation would be the Antelope Canyon. 35 to 40 kids. That one there we would be able to get in budget and
Yeah.
probably install this year.
Yeah.
Or we'd be able to pay for it this year. Anyway.
Yeah.
So my recommendation would be to go with the Antelope Canyon, or we could go to the other ones. Of course, we don't get the,
I think to your
Yes.
point, though, just looking at it, if that one's 16, that one's 19, and that's much bigger bang for the buck for the 2 grand difference. That probably makes more sense. The Antelope Canyon one.
Does the Antelope Canyon have ADA accessibility?
yeah, on the second page,
It's rated as an 8,
yeah,
the lowest number
Compared to the others.
compared to the other ones. The highest one is Bowman, the second to the highest is Play Lab.
Willie Goat doesn't have a rating.
the Willie Goat one, just looking at them, they do have what they call lift stations, so it's not like a wheelchair ramp, but it's bigger platforms as are all the game time ones where you can kind of transfer lift. So out of all those, everything that we're looking at is in some aspect ADA compliant. Now, how much they are, I don't know. With that being said, I want to touch base on the paper with Dalton Township playground equipment from the Amazon list. None of those that I can see are really ADA compliant. I just kind of wanted to touch base on that.
That, this question of that Ace Flyer heater cutter,
Yep.
I don't know if that would be an issue with ADA, would it?
That's a good point.
I think that
Yeah, I
ADA
think so.
could get onto it because it's basically a heater cutter. so
Yeah.
It would be, I would consider it, I don't know, I'm not an expert.
Yes, sir.
It would be. And we have one of those in,
it's all,
Yep.
and one of the things we found is, the steering wheel and the propeller ended up getting taken off. But somebody took it off. But it still functions fine and, I don't know how its durability, we've had it up to what, 2 years?
Yes, sounds right.
I think so.
I was impressed with it. It seems to be holding up good other than those 2 items.
That's what it's the Bowman and the Bowman, the big cost seemed to be that it's so much more accessible.
But to the Play Lab Brewster, That one is pretty close within the current budget. It's 32, we're short of about 5,000.
We have 3,200 that line item, we could move, another few $1,000s from the equipment and repairs. But then we also have to think about, the shipping is gonna be a few $1,000s.
And you said, and it's the 30% off the 75?
It's,
For the install?
installation. is
30% of the total price.
It's made in Holland, it's gonna be how much to ship?
It's not made in Holland, it's made down in Alabama, but the sales rep, the company that would do the installation is based out of Holland.
Yeah, I'll go pick it up. And I'm sorry, so the 30% is at what we're paying, so it's the 37,000.
Yeah.
So it'd be 10 grand for installation, not 75.
No, so.
No, it'd be 30% of the 75,000.
Right, so,
Right,
so the
okay.
Play Lab, for instance, would
Yeah.
cost us 37,636 plus
22,581.
for installation plus,
10 grand.
yes.
Yeah. Huh. So yeah, I mean, it's $100,000. I mean, 180 whatever.
But if
Yeah,
you purchase it this year, you can have the installation costs go over to next year's budget.
But that then ties up our budget for next year,
Yeah.
and so other projects that we might want to do may have to be postponed into the future.
That's a reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are no easy paths.
How do we want to handle this selection? Do we want to do a vote where we have a list of the projects and then each person gives their 1, 2, 3 a rating on it?
You can do that if you want. So kind of the normal process would be someone to make a motion. Someone to say, all right, I'm gonna suggest that we're doing A as the priority, but a fallback is B. That's the motion. Then you'd ask, do you have a support? You take a vote. It would normally go in that direction. If you wanted to do a rating system of some sort, you're completely open to that.
I'm open to either. It's a suggestion from the board here.
I'll make a motion for Antelope Canyon.
Would second that.
It was in our minutes. Let's go.
Antelope Canyon as first option A.
Yes.
Who's making that, Michael?
Yes.
Both mics.
Well, we always said
Mike Somerville or Mike?
Somerville made the motion and I seconded it.
Is it appropriate for me to do that as chair?
So that is sometimes debated, but realistically, the chair can make a motion. It's just usually not done.
Yeah, okay, I'm holding back then.
Yeah.
You're usually asking for a motion.
I guess my question would be, with this motion, is it closing out the door for any other motion to have a backup?
we need a backup.
Yeah, I do
We
too.
need a backup
Yeah. Yeah.
and discussion. You're the one running the meeting.
Yes. We need a backup and then we'll have discussion and
Yep.
we'll make it all one motion.
Sure.
And,
So the motion is for choice A to be Antelope Canyon. I'd like guess, seconded by.
what's our backup one? Do we want to do a playtime? Want a big, more expensive playtime one? Or do we want to go to the Billy Goat one?
I make a motion that Play Lab Rooster be the second choice because it fits within that 100% grant proposal. And is about $5,000 short of our current budget.
Any discussion?
You're looking for support, if that's.
Oh, yeah, we're looking for support on that.
I'll support.
Any discussion?
The only discussion that I would say, just to clarify what we've done, the Antelope Canyon playground would be paid for out of this year's budget and would be done. The Play Lab Brewster, I like that idea, but that would be paid for out of this year's budget for the item. And then next year, we would have to set aside roughly $32,000 for installation. So that would pay to match destroy next year's budget as well. Anyway, I'm, if everybody agrees to that, that's great.
That aspect of the discussion seems would it be appropriate to have that in the, we'll bring to the board is our.
I want to inform the board, yeah, of that idea, wouldn't want to surprise them.
Right.
Going into the next budget.
And I
think we should also have the actual total. Cause you got unit price and you're saying that this is not the total. You gotta have the install also.
It should be an installed prep.
and they said 30%.
But I don't wanna see the one thing.
Yeah, in other words, the graph that, or the chart here you made, we gotta have some more columns in there. It's basically the bottom line.
We need the out the door.
Out
The out the door.
Out the door,
Yeah.
this is it, bottom line.
In the ground.
Yeah, there you go.
And, if you wouldn't mind following up with them, since we've made a couple of choices, and say, here's our two choices, tell us out the door and in our garage cost, and then final price of installation. And we have a rough idea, so we know what we can do here at the board. But if you could finalize those prices for us, that would be awesome.
And then that can go before the township board.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
is there also a blueprint, if you will, of what's needed for that site, for that piece of equipment that we could have somebody else do? Because 10K sounds awful expensive for digging up some dirt and putting down whatever. What does this look like?
What is the site?
The site
Yeah.
prep, what does that look like? Is it something that we could farm out to somebody like Kevin Ferguson or Jesse McCormick or Wood McCormick's? Or the other folks accurate be willing to,
How did the township work with both Accurate and Kevin and McCormick?
would they all be willing, would they or some of them be willing to do some of this work
I think.
on behalf of the township if we put a plaque up and on there?
I know Accurate's doing the pickleball court at Malawi right now, so I don't know what that looks like, what they did or not.
I
So
would-
we could talk with, I could talk with Jordan and see
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
Jesse and Kevin. They all happen to be friends.
But as far as moving this along, that can be a decision that's made later on.
They can.
We're-
I mean, especially a decision that saves us
Resolution doesn't
money.
come in.
Yeah.
It's an easy direction. to move. It's when you go up, that's.
Yeah, yeah,
It's-
Yeah.
I would say on this, because you have a motion and support on two separate things, but you haven't actually voted on them. So I would call for votes on them. I just wanted to make sure you weren't forgetting on that, and then I would do roll call votes because of spending money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to keep discussing, that's completely fine.
What do you think about it if we all rescind our motions and we change it to number one choice is this, number two would be this?
A single motion that contains both, you can do that.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Just to simplify things.
Yeah.
So basically, it's an amendment to the motions.
Mike started it,
So I'd like to amend my motion by doing Antelope Canyon as the first choice, and the Play Lab Brewster as the second choice.
Wait, and I'll second that.
And then you will, because your motion is,
First motion, so there's.
so you'll rescind yours? then?
Now we need to vote.
And it's gotta be roll call. Um, Can you reread the
Yeah.
motion?
So the motion is for Antelope Canyon to be our first choice. And Brewster. What's it called?
Play Lab.
Play Lab Brewster.
Yes.
Play Lab Brewster to be our second choice. And it was given by Mike Somerville and seconded by Mike. Did you second it, Mike?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Bennett,
Yes.
So we have a roll call vote on it.
Mike B,
yes.
Mike S,
Yes, sir.
Randall,
Yes.
R,
Yes.
and Mark Grant says yes.
And please include the reasonings we find behind our selection.
Justin, will he be presenting this to the board?
Yes, because I put together the packets in general, and Justin's still going through a learning curve on a bunch of the paperwork and everything, I'll work with him and essentially describe all of this in the motion. I normally make a request for consideration as a type of motion, and I include a paragraph or two or three or whatever it is to kind of describe the situation. So we'll have it in there, and then Justin will be there, I'll be there, and Bennett will be there available for the board to ask questions of and to just initiate the conversation with the board as well. And, I mean, you're welcome as well.
No, but you answered my question.
Yeah.
Somebody has to present this in a way that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, I understand the difference between the two theories of doing Antelope Canyon and fully having it contained within the budget for this year, and even attempting to get it in this year and hopefully reducing the prep work versus Brewster spread over the 2 years, but getting a larger leverage on the grant money essentially, and then end up with a more expansive unit. So that's, I believe, essentially the.
Yeah.
the-
And then the other thing I was just looking to, if you could, the Brewster is a 10 on the ADA scale versus an 8, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 8 sounds solid, but is it solid? I don't know. But if you, to justify the expense, that could be a thing.
And it fits into the 100%.
Correct, yeah, so it has a larger amount of leverage on the grant.
Yes.
But I like these meetings. I don't want to spend extra. Okay.
One thing that, with regard to the site prep work and all, we had quite a discussion at the park with regard to the material that you have on the ground. The recommendation was by the representative there was to use engineered wood chips. Right now we have the rubber tire chips, and there's a lot of problems with the rubber tire chips. The chips get screwed over the yard, and when they're being mowed, they get shot out around, potential hazard for people. Kids put them in their pockets, and then the families have problems with them because they come out of the pockets in the dryer and make all these black streaks, So those are some of the discussions in the future we're gonna have, is how do we want to treat the playground that'll all affect the cost.
Yep, and flip side of the argument is, the wood chips could also still end up in the playground yard, but they decompose. The tires do not. They land where they land, they stay until they get moved again. So, they're all over the playground right now.
Anything else for Beagle Field that you want to talk about?
For this aspect of it, I don't think so. Where are we at?
You want to talk about future improvements or maintenance type work? You did mention skateboard, skateboard park.
Yeah, not really a whole lot to discuss. I just more or less wanted to bring it up and as a possible idea. That way in the future, you guys aren't blindsided by, hey, why are you proposing this? But I think it would be really cool. So I myself, I grew up riding BMX. My kid, he wants me to take him to the skate parks up to 2 hours away. It's going to be awesome to have something nearby, Yellow, in our own township. I think it'd be awesome. I know that I personally, like I said, drive hours away for skate parks. So why not have one here and have people drive to us?
I love the idea of doing something different, you know, especially maybe next year's budget. This is a random question, but I guess maybe I can answer my own question, but maybe not. It's like things like a skate park or a splash pad. It's like, is there any type of like, I guess it's probably the same with the playground. That's why I said I asked my answer my own question, like, but like extra insurance the township needs or anything like that. Like those are high risk things. Or...
Insurance, BHS is who we do insurance through, most of our insurance other than workers' comp. I
Sure.
know that's a
Yeah.
whole story. There's apparently no good workers' comp insurance.
Okay.
BHS, I had them quote it and they said we shouldn't even go with them.
Oh,
It's the
got it.
first time I've ever had an insurance agent.
Yeah, say no,
So-
thank you. Yeah.
So, but otherwise, all of our insurance is through BHS. And so they went around, they assessed all of our parks and came up with a number of where they thought we were on something like that. And we have an umbrella overrider too.
Got it.
So if we put that in, we'd have to update them. We have a meeting with them every year. So we'd have to update them. They would change it. Would they increase? They'd probably increase it a little bit.
It's very
Would it be a ton?
Yeah.
Probably not much. If I was guessing, it would be a guess, so it wouldn't be that good. Now, if I know a guy that's put in a personal zip line that was quite high, that went over a lake and a dock area and everything, and he has a lot of money, it's a very successful company, and he ended up taking it out
Yeah.
because the liability insurance on it was a lot.
Yeah.
But with the number of skate parks and things you see around, I'm sure there would be some minor added cost, but I'm guessing it's comparable to a playground.
Yeah. That's why I said when I started, I was like, you know, they can flop and slide just like this. And it's, yeah.
I also guess I have a follow-up question that, being that we get insurance review every year, once that we get rid of the current playground there and get one that's a little bit more compliant,
Yeah.
safer, do you think that our insurance will decrease?
We could bring it up with them, I would doubt it.
It never, it's funny, it never decreases, but interesting, right? It doesn't have the jagged edges or anything. You never know.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
it could be like, our
Yeah.
last one was
It will,
extremely
it
unsafe.
will increase if you point out the jagged edges.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It
So we could have moved in that direction, we
Yeah.
probably could have moved it up. If we move it down, if it could stay for probably not. But, I mean, it'd be worth mentioning.
Has anybody looked at that stuff that we wanted welded?
No, we were at the point where it's better just to take the thing down. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing that's it's getting very popular right now, but we might want to look at in the future is pickleball court. They're going up all around us, you know, and maybe a fad that later on will
Yeah.
maybe be way.
I love it. It's fun.
It's a very popular sport.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big
So that's
in that
something
sport.
we might want to consider for Beagle Field in the future as well.
That correlates with this idea of a skate park. So Justin didn't fully mention it, but he encountered some skaters out there. And we never see anyone using, I don't see anyone using the tennis courts. And so it'd be reasonable to propose to turn those into pickleball courts. You know, my guess, and I don't know if it's fair to guess, is that's gonna kind of go like disc golf. It's gonna become this kind of ubiquitous everywhere type of thing for a while, and then see a somewhat of a decrease, but it's still gonna have a high availability. And you still.
It's already been going for about 10 years.
Pickleball?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so,
Quite a few people have been playing it for quite a few years.
I assume it was invented decades ago.
People like me.
Yeah, it's
Right.
generational,
Yeah.
Right.
believe it or not, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a lot of.
and so I think it'll end up being popular, it'll be everywhere, like disc golf, but it'll probably see some sort of peak and then some sort of decrease over time to a certain extent. But that would be a reasonable direction to go with the tennis courts. Should we rehab the tennis courts to have tennis? I think that's questionable. I don't know if tennis is increasing a ton in the area. So pickleball might be one way to go, or if there's already some skaters and whatnot using that area, it might be reasonable to take that in the direction of a skate park. Something with that, or we could rehab it into tennis.
This
as
is
well.
something that would be a good discussion in the general meeting coming up.
The joint session?
Joint session, or is it, we got a budgeting session and we want to put together a budget for next year.
It would be completely fine in the joint session, and if something's actually gonna be done there, it has to be discussed in the budget meetings for sure.
All right. I would suggest we bring that to the joint session, have that as a discussion item. What do we want to do with the future of Beagle Field? All right, moving on, there's nothing more on Beagle Field. Well, that, we did talk skate park, that was that. Item, was the next item that was added to our agenda is the bylaws. We all have one there. This is something I pulled off from the internet from, Harbor Springs, Township. And they had, I tried to go through and do a, search and replace on the name and stuff, and I highlight areas that have to be modified, but there's quite a bit of modification. The whole purpose of bringing this to your attention is to let you know we're working on it. If there's anything you see glaring that you want us to fix or correct, let us know. I'm going to be working with Jeff on getting a clean draft. This is the initial draft. We try to get a clean draft ready for our next meeting. Our regular meeting, not the joint meeting.
Okay, the joint session is a work session only, so it'll be discussion among multiple boards, nothing will be voted on. Your next regular meeting will be in December 23rd.
Yep. I wanted to confirm that at some point, make sure what.
December 23rd.
Yes.
Right, before Christmas.
You're welcome to wear festive sweaters.
Let's go. Let's go.
So, that being said, and we move on to item number 10, public board comment. Any other comments from the board?
I have a new acquaintance, and he was very much involved with the Boys and Girls Club redo when Mesquite Community College was going to tear it down. He heard about it. He's very much into doing everything he can for the kids. He moved into our county back in 2008. His name is Pete Bochef. And I've asked him a couple things because this is what he did. He was the Parks and Recreation person in Lansing. And he's got so much, he's done so much in it. He's big into getting grants and getting support. He came up with $12 million to take the the old Y and refurbish it, and then went to Muskegon Community College and told them, basically, we're gonna buy this from you. You're not selling it to what's his face, the big developer downtown, and turning it into condos. We're gonna take this over, and this is how much we're gonna pay you, and we're going to rebuild it. They were telling him that it was going to be tore down, and because it was falling apart, he brought his people over to look at it, took it over. So he's interested in helping us in whatever way we can. So I'm gonna talk to him a little bit more and see what more we can do to help, like, maybe get some more money with our parks and how to go about doing that.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds like a really good connection.
Seems like a good person to be involved with.
Would it be appropriate to invite him to the
Sure.
joint session or to our December?
I don't know if we wanna, I think December maybe.
Probably December, so you can have a little bit more of a conversation with him, in particular about them, so he's not going through a learning curve on about township in general in a joint session, which probably.
Especially after the election, bringing in somebody that, you know, just totally flipped. And right now, he's in the middle of helping Muskegon County Airport get under new management.
Yeah.
It started as a baggage boy there, just because baggage people get to fly to places cheap.
Yeah.
Well, he was just doing baggage there as a retiree. And now he's involved with Muskegon County Airport getting a total refurbished
Yeah.
with a total different company with a lot of big ideas.
Well, maybe if he could have a tour of our parks
Now,
with you and Justin.
Mhm.
And if he can come to a meeting here and make a presentation to us, just tell us his observation
Yep.
and
That would be good,
potential
yeah.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Then that gives us some
Mhm.
traction to saying, okay, these are the possibilities.
Yep. because he was asking me things like, what are your plans? What are your goals? And I don't know, we just got started.
Do you make the arrangements for that?
Sure.
Okay.
Fantastic.
I'll get with Justin and show him around.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Connect Pete and Justin and, yeah, get some stuff going on there, try to absorb some of that knowledge.
brain.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
That there's some, there are some foundations around here that has earmarked monies just for parks.
Yeah.
Sponsorship companies around here
Mm-hmm.
will support development park, whether it's be Lowe's or Home Depot. So there's some opportunities out there, and maybe he has some pretty good connections that we can
Right.
someone glean from that.
Yeah, we're working with currently the baseball field has a scoreboard that was sponsored by Meyer quite a few years back. And we've been trying to get a hold of them, this was earlier in the season, about still sponsoring it and updating that scoreboard. We have not had any luck getting a hold of any of the contacts there. So there might be an open spot sponsoring that, the scoreboard.
Sure.
If possible, I'd like to be a part of that
Right.
meeting.
He also
That'd be
has ideas on the rail trail and Berry Junction Trail and setting them up the way they should be set up so that you can get answers and funding and so that it's ran by an organization that has the power to say yes and no instead of worrying about getting a hold of the DNR and getting a hold of this and getting a hold of that.
yes, that is massive. Got a couple of boxes of documents on that. So, which does bring up, I wanted to go over just before we leave. So by the time your next meeting comes around, your regular meeting in December, I probably will be gone. It depends on somewhat how the election goes with the clerk replacement and everything, but sometime between the end of November and the end of December, I'll switch out of office, right? Depends on when someone else swears into the supervisor role. But I do want to, set Justin up for success and you up for success and everything. And so keeping notes on what should be there. One, general discussion of budgeting going into the next year and preparing for that, because you want that discussion in winter and then discussion in spring, and then you're into the budget, right? Because you're only meeting quarterly. The discussion of the bylaws, will have that either as discussion. If there's more stuff that needs to be moved forward, that can be moved another meeting out. If everyone basically agrees, they can be passed at that meeting. The bike statue, I expect those organizations hopefully will have moved forward with that more. They're talking about where the bike trail crosses at McMillan. And so they have an RFP out and maybe they'll have done some stuff there. You might be seeing that at the December meeting as well. And so as of now, those are the big items I have there. Obviously, a number of things can fall under the budgeting discussion. But is there anything else that we should be seeing at the December meeting? I'm all set.
Everybody have comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Meeting adjourned. This went along pretty good. Got it done in an hour. That was pretty intense.